Hey everybody, how are you today? It's Kristin with the Craft Fair Collective, and today's topic is small space booth setup. So I get a lot of people when I post pictures of booth displays online and talk about creative ways to make your 10 by 10 all that it can be, and people say, yeah, well that's great if you have a 10 by 10, but I'm doing a church fair, or I'm doing a small bazaar, or I'm doing a private show, and I only have one table. And that is like the big fear factor for people. How am I going to cram all of the stuff I want to get into one table? But it's really common, especially at smaller shows. It really is possible to build a fantastic display with a single table. I am so serious. Take a look at this display right here. This is some people that I know from doing shows. The company is Grandmother's Buttons, and this right here is a single tabletop display, and look how gorgeous and inviting it is. I've done some shows in the past where I had to take what I normally put in a 10 by 10 space and really compress. I've had 8-foot table displays. I've even had a couple displays that were private showings in somebody's home, and I had to set up one time in somebody's foyer, and I had basically 2 small tables in someone's foyer to set up and present my brand in an authentic way that was representative of my branding and that conveyed to people what my brand was about. What we're going to do is look at ways to achieve success in a small space like this table. They've built up both the tabletop and with their backdrop, and they're well branded. If you get too many colors or too many types of products going on, you don't have a cohesive look, and that can look messy. Okay, so let's take a look at this table right here as an example of how we probably don't want to display at a single table setup. You see how all the product is just laying flat on the table? It's not very enticing. It's hard for people to see from across the room what they're going to be looking at. Now let's contrast that with this display, which again is a small single table setup, but they've done a really good job of incorporating height and depth and interest into their display. Using a backdrop is a great way to add that visual interest when you're short on space. So in addition to using a backdrop, another great idea is to use props to build height on your table and take your display vertical in that sense. You can see here the great use of boxes and busts and props to display the pieces, and that's going to be eye-catching from across the room. It's inviting, and it's really going to bring people into that space. Just a couple more examples real quick. I love this one. Take a look. This is probably smaller than an 8-foot table, but they have done a terrific job of taking their display and raising it up off the table so customers can see it from a distance. And look what a terrific job they've done with branding. I'll bet you if you were to go out to their website or their Etsy shop, their branding would be consistent with the way their booth looks and feels. And that is great marketing. So here's another example that I really love. As you can see, again, a small single table display, but she has built a wall, a portable wall that she puts behind her display, and look at this. She's got a sign here with her branding and her shop name on it, and that is really smart. If you don't know what to do to kind of give your small space visual interest, using a sign is one of the easiest ways to do that. It can be a banner that you get printed up, or it can be a custom sign that you have made like this. You can also put photographs on your banner or on your backdrop, and so your customers are able to see photographic representation of what you're offering at a glance. You can have 3 or 4 shoppers there, and suddenly no one else can fit to be able to be looking at your products. So having a photographic representation on the wall space behind you is a really good way to get people to see what your booth is all about and what it is that you're offering. And just so you know that we practice what we preach, here's an 8x8 table display that we set up, and the lattice in the background was the only thing provided. As you can see, we just built up on the table, used that wall space behind us to create visual interest, and as it turns out, this was a really good show for us. Okay, so thanks for joining me today, and don't worry if you have a small space. You can still build a knockout booth display even with very limited square footage. And if this video was helpful to you, make sure to like it and subscribe to this channel. You can also head over to the Craft Fair Collective group on Facebook. We'd love to see you there. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.